Top 10 Most Underrated NBA Players. Number 10. Doug Christie. Doug Christie was the heart and soul of defense for the Sacramento Kings. The Kings were generally considered a top team in the West during their glory days, and Christie was part of the reason why. Throughout his career, however, he stayed in the shadows of stars Petra Stojakovic, Mike Bibby, and Chris Webber, but that did not seem to bother the man who prided himself on his powerful defensive prowess. He was a member of the 4 all-defensive teams and made it in his forte in the league. Christie, a Pepperdine graduate, averaged 11.2 points, 4.1 rebounds, and 3.6 assists in his 827 career at the college. He also swiped a remarkable 1.9 steals per game. Number 9. Clyde Drexler. Clyde Drexler is one of the best shooting guards ever in the NBA, but that's not to say he wasn't underrated during his playdays. Like other notables on the list, Michael Jordan's career overshadowed Drexler's. Throughout his duration, he was selected to the All-Star game 10 times, and he had seasons that reflect the current LeBron James superstar campaigns. During his career, he should have received more respect, and it is for this reason that he is highly underrated. Number 8. Marques Johnson. Selected 3rd overall by the Milwaukee Bucks in the 1977 NBA draft, the best years of Marques Johnson would come out with the team whose uniform he wore first. Johnson scored 21 points in 524 games with the Bucks, pulling down more than 7 boards and dishing out nearly 4 assists a game. He was a 5-time All-Star too. And how does it come that he is not remembered more widely as the phenomenal small forward he was? He invented the term point forward, after all, when he addressed his abnormal role with the press in the playoffs of 1983. Johnson, at 6'7" in the postseason, seemed out of place to play point guard, but his injuries brought all his other guys down and he was forced to take a greater role. Number 7. Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale played under the shadow of the great Larry Bird, and this is why his numbers don't really tell the whole story. During his career as a Celtic, he was tougher than nails, most notably playing with a fractured foot during the 1987 postseason. McHale and Bird were the 2 main catalysts of the Celtics team of the 1980s, which won 3 championships. The former had post moves to die for, the latter had the complete game that led him to becoming a top 5 consensus player in the history of the league. The best season for McHale included 26 points inputs and 10 rebounds per game. Number 6. Shane Battier. Shane Battier had been a great defensive power for as long as he had been in the league. He is asked to guard the likes of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Kobe Bryant from time to time, and he lives up to the challenge. His 2 inclusions to the all-defensive teams do not do justice to this guy. In addition to being a former Dookie, Battier is not only solid on D, but also a viable shooter, most notably beyond the arc, where he shot 38.5% from deep. The 32-year-old is also a locker room presence and is a joy to play with, according to past and present teammates. Number 5. Michael Cooper. The essential coordinary option on the Lakers team of the 1980s was Michael Cooper. He has played behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, and James Worthy, and opponents have always underestimated and ignored him. That's not to say that they didn't once remember his presence. Larry Bird was quoted as saying that he had the best defender he had ever met in Michael Cooper. Chants of Coop surfaced every time the 6'5" guard touched the ball, and when he was defensively nothing special, he made his presence known on D, a testament to his 8 all-defensive picks. Number 4. Gerald Wallace. Gerald Wallace is one of the few NBA players today who get it done on both sides of the floor, and he's the only one who gets the slightest attention out of the bunch. In reality, the 2007-08 season for Wallace, a campaign in which he scored 19.4 points, 6 rebounds, and 3.5 assists, has not even been recognized as a bid-worthy All-Star year. I think the voters would rather have a no-defense, all-offensive guy like Carmelo Anthony instead. Though his first All-Star appearance was last season, Wallace should actually have a bunch more of them. He is certainly one of the most overlooked stars in the current NBA. Number 3. Jerry Sloan. Everyone nowadays knows Jerry Sloan as the former Utah Jazz coach, but what some people don't understand is that he was a first great Chicago Bull. From 1976 on, he was a key player in the program of Chicago for a decade, and he was the first Bull to have the jersey sent into the rafters. The 6'5" Sloan was a 2-time All-Star and 6-time All-Defensive guard who was tenacious on both sides of the court in his career. He scored 14 points and 7.5 rebounds per game, the latter being unusually high for his size guard. Number 2. Tim Duncan. Perhaps it's his quiet attitude, perhaps it's the fact that he's such a boring player to watch. Whatever it is, Tim Duncan has been one of the most overlooked players in the NBA's history. The big fundamental is the greatest power forward in the history of the game, winning everything both individually and with the Spurs during his long career. And while he's still in the league, we need to sit back and appreciate who we're watching, because in the future, this guy will certainly have a top 15 spot sealed to him. Number 1. Scottie Pippen. Everybody knows who Scottie Pippen is and what defines him: championships. They can look look up his numbers easily, which tell part of his story. He averaged 16.1 points, 6.4 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and an impressive 2 steals throughout his 17-year career. What casual basketball fans do not know is that he is generally known as one of the 2 or 3 greatest defensive players to ever play the game, along with Dennis Rodman, his teammate with the Chicago Bulls from 1995 to 1998. You know you're a great player when the 3rd defensive best player is Michael Jordan. That's all the time that we have for today. Who is your favorite spot on this list? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on all of our future videos.